Please remain seated until your device comes to a complete stop, and before entering this platform.
Welcome to Eli-Tables, a non-coplanar, largely asynchronous, eccentric, and only semi-linear space, one which lies outside the positive XYZ octant. I am Eli, resident crackpot inventor. I even have a cert. I am also the CEO, CFO, CC, and BW of Eli-Tables, LLC. Now, yous are all familiar with YouTubes where unique parts, otherwise made of unobtainium, are FDM'd into existence and with just a little bit of this'a and a little bit of that'a become critical parts of some brilliant mechanism or the totally convincing bit or bob that sells the gag. Well, this two-part opus, Eli to Scale, is nothing like that. It documents my sundry failures using XYZ Printing's DaVinci Mini Maker to create salesman samples of my invention, the Eli-Tables modular job site work support system. This is the beastie I'm going to 3D print, and that's the software I'm going to use for the slicing, dicing, and explaining to the printer which way to go when, what song to sing, and I'm going to be printing in my XYZ Printing DaVinci Mini Maker printer. I didn't start out to become a maven in 3D printing, and by no stretch of the imagination have I arrived at that destination, this being my third spool of filament. I'm now going to move into time-lapse while I prep this print and start it, so here we go. Okay, so this print failed about 16 hours into what was growing to be a 30-hour print. You can see the structure, though, is being faithfully reproduced with the relieved edges here and the square edges here. And this profile looks very nice. Now, since this was the part facing the print bed, there were supports here, supports like these thingies. This is lightweight supports in this software and quite adequate for the task and quite easy to remove. You're just massaging the part with your fingers, you can take that off. But the residue of that is still, if I can get that into focus, well, whatever. But a touch of sandpaper, very gentle, wet sandpaper, very high grit, smooth that down enough, because you can't, if you keep grinding away at this, you come to the inside, the honeycomb. This is done with a thick wall and 20% infill. It says honeycomb, but it looks rectilinear to me, but what do I know? So this part failed like halfway through the build. So I decided actually to print the next part anyway, because there is enough of this profile for me to get a test fit depending on how much of the next part I print. So the next part, love that nice smooth pan. This is the next part. This is a segment of the beam, and I don't know if you can actually read. Let me do some physical zoom here. In order for this joint to work, I think actually the numbers, if you can read them, explain it quite well. It'll make more sense once you've seen the other parts. It's one of the reasons I have to make these videos. This is very difficult to explain. If you play with it in your hands, you get it instantly. So, and once again, whoops. This is the software I'm using to do that. This is the software that comes with the printer, and I kind of like it. I've discovered that that the number of variables that can seriously affect your print quality could be quite overwhelming. This is a much more simplified slice and dice program in keeping with the target market for this, school classroom programs and such like. This gives you a reasonable number of things to play with and get your feet wet. And if you decide to go forward in this, then you can get more. There are better slice and dice programs, and there are certainly much more capable printers. So there I was getting ready to print this and make a video and hopefully capture the end of that print. Unfortunately, this one failed as well, and failed very much the same way as the leg segment failed. It's some kind of nozzle clog, because after I recovered the leg segment, that's this puppy, it had the same kind of problems. And what I ended up doing to get this far with this print is I did a real serious clean out of the nozzle as recommended by the manufacturer. I'm going to have to go in, I think, and do the more drastic nozzle cleaning, but we'll see what happens. But that's where we are at the moment. I'm going to clean this part up and see what kind of test fit I can get, because the whole purpose of printing these parts at this size is to see if the necessary slop is available, but that this amount of slop does not introduce too much wibble wobble in the Eli table when it's assembled. Well, stay tuned. There'll be more to come.